To the question of what careers in education should we be preparing our best students, maybe I overread my instructions, but I took them to focus on research careers. So I was right?
Yes.
Okay. And I really mean this as research careers that support teaching and schooling in general. And I guess I preface my remarks by saying that in taking this position, I'm not advocating one kind of education career over the other kind. It's just that I have such distinguished co-panelists here who I know will cover teaching very well. So I think I take a shot at making the case for the value and importance of research in education, and to ground teaching and education in general in high-quality research in the nation. I think that's something we tend to overlook. I think it can be hard, there is so much sense of urgency, of righteous urgency about our educational system and its needs, that sometimes the case for research can seem like, you're advocating for a luxury or something that's sort of slightly beside the point. And so people can have a low tolerance for it. But I want to make the case as best I can today for the importance of research. And to do that, I've taken a sort of unusual approach here. I'm going to use a device that I lifted from what we know as storylines. When you outline a movie, you put the storyline on a board. And when you do that a lot, it turns out that most movies, or lots of movies, boil down to a very simple storyline. And the storyline is something like this. Once upon a time, every day, and then this happened, and then because of that, and because of that, until finally. So I'm going to try to fit my whole case for the sake of being brief and as concise as I can. I'm going to try to fit my whole case for the importance of research into that brief storyline. So you can see if I pull it off or not. I call this story Smart Education, and here it is. Once upon a time, the K-12 schools in the United States began to falter seriously, especially for low-income students. Every day, throughout the land, parents struggled to find good schools for their children. Those with resources tried to move to better neighborhoods or pay for private schooling, while those with fewer resources had to take their chances in an increasingly under-resourced public school system. The nation's educational performance began to falter alarmingly. Then one day, people began to realize that we could be as smart about education as we are about other things, like making scientific and medical discoveries, innovating technologies, forming effective businesses, and institutions of higher learning. They began to realize that we could expand our knowledge and technology to better educate more people. And because of that, they began to invest more in the creation of knowledge about how people learn and how to teach them, and in the development of schooling and teaching strategies, as well as technologies that would deliver better learning experiences to vast numbers of Americans and other people throughout the world. And because of that, the Graduate School of Education at Stanford focused on two grand goals. One, to create a new science and scholarship of education to expand these basic capacities of education. And two, to see if this strategy could improve the performance of large urban school districts such as San Francisco Unified School District. And this effort led other great graduate schools of education to focus on achieving similar goals and not to rest until the knowledge they produced and the smartening of technology that they accomplished could be shown to actually improve American schooling and the professions that support it. Until finally, the U.S. became again the world's leader in educating its citizens, as well as showing the world how to do this better, which meant that its economy thrived and remained internationally dominant, and that it became again a society in which education offered its citizens a viable route to opportunity, the good life, and the pursuit of happiness. So that's the movie that we see.
And all during your lifetime as dean?
Yeah, and all during my lifetime as dean. You know, so I thought I'd give just a couple of examples of research that have fascinated me in the last 2 days. One is from an old Stanford colleague who did the Marshmallow study. I don't know if you've heard of that, where he found that among 5-year-olds, how long you're willing to wait to get 2 marshmallows rather than eat the 1 marshmallow right in front of you that you could have, the delay time, is one of the best predictors of your SAT score like 14 years later. 5-year-olds to that. So that begins to give us some insight into the kind of characteristics you want to educate people to have. And it can revolutionize, to some degree, the approach we take in schooling. This has been followed up by the economist James Heckman, who's a Nobel Prize-winning economist who analyzed data from the Perry Preschool research, which collected data on both what are called cognitive outcomes and what are also, I don't think accurately, but nonetheless called non-cognitive outcomes. And by that they mean things like self-regulation and ability to control emotions, ability to focus attention, these kinds of skills. So these early preschools taught both kinds of skills. And what do you think predicted later life outcomes like income and marital success and health? It was the non-cognitive outcomes. And this gives you some sense of, this kind of research, I think, you know, lays a foundation of what you want education to focus on. We wanted the schooling to be a really holistic, full experience that allows children to develop a full range of skills and characteristics that many of which may not be the exact performance on a given standardized bubble test today, but may be characteristics that enable them to flourish throughout their lives. I could go on with examples of research that I think have sort of revolutionized how we think about education. We do a lot of research in our school on what might be called the epidemiology of education. Where really are the problems? Where should we focus our policy? Where should we focus our energies? So I'll get a chance to give you some more specific examples, but I just want to put the idea out there that I think, as in the case of medicine, education is something that really should be rooted in high-quality research, and that this can be an incredibly exciting kind of career people can have, that our good students can have in education.